So this weekend is Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer in Seattle. What are your initial thoughts on the main event?
I think it should be a good fight. I think it feels like it's like a veteran versus, new guy, one of those. Poirier versus BSD, Gaethje versus Fiziev. It feels like another one of those. So
Adesanya versus Anderson Silva.
Exactly. Yeah.
Think about it.
And
the tables have turned.
Right. And in that fight, Izzy kind of mogged him. So, if I just jump right into it, I'm expecting a Joe Pyfer finish in rounds 1 to 2. And I think people will probably bring up the fact that, Joe Pyfer lost to Jack Hermanson by decision. Jack Hermanson had good low kicks, and there's some comparisons that can be drawn to Izzy. And I think there's a case to be made. But that was 2.5, 3 years ago. Joe Pyfer has fought a lot since then. He has improved a lot since then. And a facet of his game that people do not really give him credit for is his submission ability. Obviously his competition hasn't been the best, but he has a couple submissions on his record. And, we know his power, obviously. I mean, he probably hits about comparable to Gregory Rodriguez, So are we going to see vintage Izzy? I think more likely not. And so for that reason, I'm picking Joe Pyfer to get a finish in rounds 1 to 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Israel Adesanya has so much experience. Like, there's nothing that Joe Pyfer is gonna bring to the table here that Izzy's never seen before. I mean, the dude fought Alex Pereira. He knows what a pressure fighter with heavy hands feels like.
Exactly.
Actually, he fought Alex Pereira 4 times, right? I mean, and think about Alex Pereira. He's possibly on his way to being the greatest of all time if he becomes triple champion. So, I mean, Izzy has seen it all. I think he has way more technical depth to his stand-up than Joe Pyfer does. Mm-hmm. His footwork is really hard to deal with. He switches stances constantly. His hand fighting is always really tricky. Like, I was rewatching his fight with Alex Pereira, the first fight actually, when I was working on the video on that lateral drop that he hit when Pereira was trying that a Sotogari on him, I guess. And Pereira was getting pissed because Izzy just kept grabbing his wrists. Like, every time Pereira was closing in on him, because Pereira has hands that are really high up like this, right? Yeah. He's not down here like McGregor. He's always up here. Izzy would just really reach out and grab his wrists. And it's so funny. There was one time where I was watching, I was like, what? Literally, Izzy grabs his wrist, Pereira reaches across and just pulls his hand off. And when you think about it, like, that's a super risky thing to do because you're literally completely opening up this side of your head to be hit. And so I think Izzy has the experience and he has the tools to give Joe Pyfer a lot of problems on the feet. Joe Pyfer, when he fought, Abu Smagomedov, his head movement was not that great. Like, on the feet, he just didn't really take his head off the center line that much. And the way he pressured Abu Smagomedov wasn't that, like, tactical. Like, when you think about someone like let's say Ilia Topuria as a pressure fighter, or even Alex Pereira, where they get you backed up and they start hitting all kinds of targets, right? And they hit your blind spots. You know what I mean? They'll go low, they'll go high, they'll go around your guard, they'll go straight down the middle, like, they'll throw knees, all that kind of stuff. Like, when Joe Pyfer fought Abu Smagomedov, he kind of just like walked forward and just threw a big right hand. It's like, against really high level competition, like, if he did that against Israel Adesanya 5 or 6 years ago, there's no way that would have ever been a problem for him. I guess where I am worried, and this is kind of what you were saying, is that Izzy's getting much older. And my biggest problem with him is that sometimes it feels like Izzy is a little bit too content to be at, like, a hittable range. You know what I mean? Like, he's almost, like, too chill being right at the end of his opponent's range. And you're like, dude, if you don't move your feet fast enough or move your head fast enough, they're just going to uncork a right hand and it's going to hit you. That's kind of what happened when he fought Imavov, is he switched stances while he was still in range to be hit. And so he basically couldn't really move during that stance switch, and Imavov just exploded forward and threw the right hand, and it just connected. it's that kind of stuff where it's like, oh man, like it's kind of hard to watch those and not feel like he could totally just get hit with a big shot.
Yeah.
His takedown defense has always been really solid. So I don't know if Joe Pyfer's going to, like, this submission, I don't really know how big of a threat that's going to be. Like, when Joe Pyfer submitted Magomedov, it was like a club and sub. It wasn't like he took him down. And I feel like if he hits Izzy, I feel like he'll just finish the fight. But at the same time, Izzy is pretty good at staying pretty composed when he's really hurt. Like, even the first Pereira fight, obviously not the second, the first one, and the Imavov fight, both of those finishes were, I wouldn't say they were early stoppages, but he was still kind of there, and like he wasn't completely out of it. So I don't know. Maybe he could get club and subbed if Pyfer hits him with something really hard. I really doubt that Piper's going to take him down and sub him that way, because again, I feel like ever since the Blachowicz fight, Izzy's takedown defense has been pretty dang solid.
You know,
I could see this fight going the distance
for sure. No, I'll have to say there's a good chance, you know, probably the second most likely chance of this fight to me is that Izzy gets a decision. I think it's super live, but we got to remember, we can't be throwing around accolades for Izzy of stuff that he did before his loss to Pereira. I think there's kind of two types of Izzy. I know he got the knockout in the rematch, but even then he wasn't looking great up until the knockout. I'm just saying. There is the Izzy that was beating Vettori, Cannonier. He was managing distance perfectly. Whitaker. And then post Pereira Izzy in MMA, he's just different. And he's worse. I'm going to be honest. I think he's worse. So I love Izzy, but in 25 minutes, Joe Pyfer is, I watch his social media content sometimes, and dude, he is such a motivated, confident dude. He's hungry, he's young, he has really good finishing ability. Izzy's chin is getting worse. I'm just like, I would say 70% I think Joe Pyfer gets a finish in this fight, 30% Izzy decision. So
wow,
you know, take that what you think about it. But that's kind of the odds of where I would say the outcomes in this fight.
Interesting. Yeah, it's hard for me to really know how this is going to play out, because I feel like I kind of said the same thing when Izzy fought Imavov. I was like, which version of him are we going to see? Are we going to see the Izzy that fought Pereira in their first fight, or are we going to see the guy who fought Sean Strickland? And we kind of saw the guy that fought Sean Strickland. I mean, he had some good moments in that fight, but he just looked like he was a little washed. You know, as much as I love Izzy, it happens to everybody. I mean, he's 36. Like, not everybody has the kind of longevity that as other people. Some just don't age as well. And I feel like Izzy's speed has kind of, I don't want to say it's gone down the tubes, but his speed isn't what it used to be. He used to be able to kind of dance around in the pocket and be comfortable there, and now it just doesn't seem like he can. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think Izzy will retire after this fight, or do you think he has more left in the tank?
I think he should retire. I think he should. I'm not sure. I got a feeling that Izzy might be a Tony Ferguson a little bit. I don't think he takes losses that bad. I think Tony took losses pretty bad and he was frustrated with himself. I think Izzy likes the storyline. He's like, I like the fact that I'm an underdog. I like the fact that I'm old and I have something more to prove, because he's proved so much in the sport that now he's just like, he's back to a point where he can accomplish, you know, more. I don't know. So I think he likes where he's at right now, and you know, being the dog in these fights. He should retire. And that's all I can say. He should retire, but I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, I don't think he has a chance becoming middleweight champ at this point. That's kind of out of the picture.
No way. All money fights and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. If he were to continue fighting, I'm not really sure who he would fight at 85. That would be interesting. I think, obviously, a Pereira trilogy fight is way out of the picture. At one point, that was a possibility because they were 1-1. But it sounds to me like they've kind of, I don't know if you saw that post that Pereira did recently. He posted the video of Izzy's KO in their second fight, and he was saying that it was, like, he was basically just saying, like, I'm looking forward to this weekend. I hope he does well. Like, this win he had over me was like game changing for my career. Like, I had to, like, really, like, hit the drawing board, and I'm like a better fighter now than I was before because of that loss. You know, I think both of them really do like each other. Like you see them at fights and stuff, and they have no like real like animosity toward each other. Like they both have a lot of respect. They both know they've accomplished a lot in the sport, and they have a really great rivalry. It's a great story. It's kind of like at the time after the Izzy won that fight, it was definitely seemed like a possibility they could make a trilogy. And then Pereira was like, hell nah, I'm not cutting to 185 anymore. And then I think at that point it was kind of clear that that was out of the picture. But now, especially because Pereira is going up to heavyweight, there is no way they would ever meet in the middle. You know what I mean? At 205 even. So I just think that's kind of done. That's the only fight I can think of that would really do crazy numbers. And I think Pereira, he's aged a lot better than Izzy has. Like Pereira had arguably an even better run at 205 than he did at 85. And that was after the loss to Izzy, which was a much worse of a knockout than Pereira's over Izzy. I mean, Pereira knocked out Izzy, but it was not like it was a TKO, right? Like it was on the feet. Whereas Izzy, I watched a video recently of the view of that KO in the rematch, Izzy's knockout, from the point of view of like somebody in the stands at the fight, right? Because when they show it on the broadcast, they'll show the finish, and then all the announcers are going crazy. The cameras are on the guy who won, and then they'll show some replays, and then a few minutes pass, and you see the other guy like standing next to the ref, and they're like, oh, yeah. But you don't actually see how long the guy's like laying on the ground. And Pereira was literally laying on the ground in that position for like a minute, just like laying there. It's like, whoa, that is scary. Like he was really, really out, you know? And so, yeah, I think it's hard for me to know, like if Izzy were to stick around, like what fight would actually be valuable for his career at this point. Joe Pyfer, I don't know how valuable it is. Like, I don't even know how many fights Izzy has left on his contract, but it's like, I don't know. I think he could retire at this point, and it wouldn't, like, his legacy is still awesome. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and also, you can't forget, too, that when Alex Pereira won the 205 belt against Yuri, yeah. And then he called out Izzy. He's like, remember, he's like, come to daddy. Remember, he said that? And Izzy, right. To fight the trilogy at 205, and then Izzy basically just said like, hell nah, dude. Hell nah.
You're good, bro.
And
I got nothing to prove.
I will say that definitely made me think a little bit different about Izzy, but I mean, I don't blame him because Pereira's a scary dude, but it seems a little petty to be like, I got my win. Now I'm going to be like, yeah, we're done. It's like when you're playing video games, you're 1v1ing. You're 1v1ing, bro. And
last person to score wins. Yeah.
Yeah, and you get your one win. You're like, all right, we're done. We're done.
We're done.
That's kind of the same thing here. So, but I don't blame him. But I think
Yeah, sorry, I was just saying, we can move on to the co-main, but I don't know if I would say it's petty, because I don't think Izzy actually thinks that he got the upper hand in their rivalry. Like, I think he's very content with the fact that he got the win he wanted, and he's like, dude, you beat me once, I beat you once. I mean, I'm not counting kickboxing, obviously, because that's a different sport, but like, I have nothing to prove here. Like, not to mention that, if we're being real, Pereira is just bigger than he is, and so he kind of has a competitive advantage in that way, especially if they went to 205. Pereira would be so much bigger than Izzy at 205. You know what I mean? Because Izzy probably wouldn't really cut that much weight. I mean, he definitely would cut weight, but it wouldn't be crazy. It would be kind of like his fight with Blachowicz. Like, Blachowicz looked a lot bigger than Izzy when they fought.
Yeah, dude, it's funny to see Izzy. Like, Izzy obviously has a hard time putting on weight. You know, against Blachowicz, I think he was like 190, 198 kind of thing. Or he was under the limit. You know, he was, and he did cut. And then Pereira fought at 85, and then when he's off season, he's like 220, and then like when he's bulking, like 235. It's like, dude,
now he's like 240 something.
It's funny how some people can put on weight so much easier, and then Izzy has a hard time putting on like 15 pounds.
Yeah,
it's insane. They both fought at 85.
I saw a video from his dietitian and said that how Izzy cuts from like, was it 210 to 185? Not
really?
That he's doing that much in fight week, but yeah. I don't know, dude. Sometimes Izzy does look pretty drained when he's weighing in. Like, he looks like his cheeks are all sunken in. So he definitely does cut weight. I just think that at 205, he'd probably be pretty small, because he wouldn't be cutting from, 225 to 205. It'd be more like cutting from 210 to 205. Like, just
just like take a crap in the morning and you're good.
Basically, yeah, that's kind of how it would be. Whereas Pereira would be like a skeleton laying on the floor of his hotel with like a blanket of tinfoil over him.
I think
for
Alex
5
Perez. I think Alex Perez's cut to 85 is comparable to TJ's cut to
Oh,
125.
100%.
I don't know how he did. Sometimes, dude, Brazilians have a way of just cutting weight like crazy. They can just do it, dude. I don't know what it is about him, but yeah, we should probably move on because
Sure.
yeah.
Let's do co-main.
So I'm
Macy
gonna,
Barber versus Alexa Grasso.
yeah, I ain't
Excited
gonna lie.
about this one?
Nah, it'll be a good
be a snoozer.
a good potty break before the main, but but all right.
Yeah.
Alexa, I feel like she's decent. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to think about her either. I've seen a lot of her fights, but I'm just like, to this day, I'm like, I don't know how to make
what's
sense
her
of,
style like
how did she beat Valentina and then take the fight to a draw, who I think Valentina is incredible. And then other times it's kind of like, who does she remind me of? Almost like Cheeto Vera, where you're like, dude, I feel like you're good. Like you have the skills to be good. Like you have good, tight boxing fundamentals, but you're just kind of slow sometimes. And it looks like you just don't care to do a whole lot. You know what I mean? It's just like they never really put their foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And like really look like they want to get a win out of it. You know what I mean?
Alexa kind of fights like how Diego fights against Volk. You know what I mean?
Literally.
Or I heard somebody say that Alexa is kind of like the female Brandon Moreno, where it's like she was champ and then now she's just kind of like losing like a lot.
Yeah.
You know, to people
way,
sorry, you can go.
No, I was just gonna say the way Brandon Moreno fought Loner Kavanaugh is one of those ones that kind of reminds me of the way that Alexa Grasso has fought since she lost the belt. It's like, okay, like we know you have skills, but it just seems like it's not coming together when the fight happens. You know what I mean?
But, you know, to get to the actual analysis of this fight, I'm going to keep it pretty brief, but Alexa Grasso has pretty decent BJJ. I mean, historically, and she trains with, you know, good BJJ artists.
Oh, yeah. Diego Lopes,
like Diego Lopes.
Very good.
But that being said, I can never count on a female fighter to get a submission unless it's like Jillian Robertson. And even then, it's still like up in the air, right?
Yeah. Or Kayla Harrison.
Yeah, or Kayla Harrison. But her takedown defense, especially against Valentina, kind of showed it, is very questionable. Very questionable. And that's going to be a very big upside with Macy Barber. Because her wrestling is not like, it's not tip top, but she's way more aggressive than Alexa Grasso. That's the big thing in this fight. It's 3 rounds, and Alexa Grasso is not very aggressive. Macy Barber, you know, whatever your opinion is on her, she is very aggressive, and that looks really good in scorecards. Really good in scorecards.
I agree. Yeah, I've never been that big of a fan of Macy Barber. I just think she's just like not very technical. Like she,
kind of like Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, how do I say this as kindly as I possibly can? You know how like I'm just gonna say it. You know how like when women do sports that like men do, it kind of looks like a lot of times like it just looks different. You know what I mean? Like their coordination and stuff. That's kind of how I feel. Like that's the best way I could describe Macy Barber. Like I'm just being real. I was just making an observation, okay? Like it kind of looks like she just isn't super coordinated and stuff. Like she's not super technical. She just kind of like runs forward and like swings her arms a little bit. I'm thinking of the like what's the fight that's coming to my mind? I think about that. Like when she fought Amanda Hebos. This was probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
Like freaking Lauren Murphy.
Yeah, it's just like you're just kind of like running forward and swinging your arms. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
no, I get what you're saying, dude. You know,
like it's like what is entertaining about this? Like at least when men fight and it doesn't get a finish, they at least look like they're technical and well trained and stuff. It's like
okay,
like what is entertaining about this?
I agree with you, but I think a more specific example can be made here. I think when it comes to WMMA, the difference between that and men is that women seem to have a little bit of a harder time entering the pocket into range.
Oh, 100%.
Like
it's a mentality.
When I watch WMMA, right, and this is an observation I'm making, is that they do a lot of the pumping out jabs when they're like 10 feet away. And I'm like, dude, like you can throw feints, but like you need to be in the realm of that they could actually be hit by it. You know what I mean? Even if they're even if it's like a couple inches away, but feet away, it's like, dude, like this is like WWE or WWE. It's like, So, and I think men are much more like, I'm willing to take a punch to give a punch. You know what I mean? And that's just more entertaining. But yeah, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. I was gonna say, was it you that sent me that video on Instagram? It was either that or I just saw it in my feed.
It was Macy Barber.
Macy Barber, her first fight with Alexa Grasso, how she got like a 10-8 round against Alexa Grasso's ghost standing between them, because she was literally like, Alexa's front foot and Macy Barber's front foot were like 3 feet away from each other. Like when she threw her jab fully extended, there was several feet between her and Alexa Grasso's head, and she was like just committing hard to these feints. And Alexa Grasso was just kind of standing there like, I don't even need to respond to this because it's so far out of range. And it's like, okay, I get to a certain extent you're trying to get into your rhythm, but it's round 3 and we're like doing pump fakes from 5 feet away. Like what are we getting out of this? I don't know. I get what you're saying. There's almost like this psychological barrier to actually getting in the pocket and trading that you just kind of have to have that dog in you to be able to do that. Yeah.
But I'll just say, just to get to my pick, I think Barber, as you know, whatever you think about her technique, I think she's going to get takedowns. I think she's going to get control time. It's going to look good in the scorecards. And I think she's probably going to get a decision here. So I'd say Barber decision is my pick, but we can probably just move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
I do not give a crap about this fight, but I'll just kind of
Chiesa versus Nico Price, for the record.
Yeah, it's Chiesa's retirement fight, so it should be talked about a little bit. But I mean, it's gonna be a submission in round 1. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it at all. Chiesa knows what he wants to do. He's gonna put barely any offense. He's gonna do every punch he throws is gonna be into a setup for a takedown. That's all he wants to do, and I don't blame him. It's like what he did with Tony Ferguson. So I think he's gonna probably get to his grappling pretty quick. He's pretty good at taking the back. I mean, I'll give him that. And he's probably gonna submit Nico Price pretty quick.
Yeah. Dude, grappling stuff, like you can age pretty well with like the grappling. Your grappling wrestling game can age. I think ages better than stand-up stuff because it's less about speed and timing and precise positioning. It's more about knowledge. And so that's why you see guys who can compete in BJJ at a really high level, like into their 40s. Wagner Hocha. Yeah. 100%. Like Wagner Hocha can, I mean, how old is he? He's gotta be in his 40s, right? And he's still competing at the highest level. So yeah, I think Chiesa is a good grappler. Yeah. Super clear path to victory here. Sub is very live. Let's move on though. I don't think we need to talk about this one any longer than that.
Yeah. And this is kind of a similar situation, but Julian Erosa, he's super good.
I'll say Julian Erosa is fighting Larian Douglas.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of do a run through. Julian Erosa is kind of at the older age of his career, but historically he's crazy finishing ability,
super aggressive.
High pressure, almost like a, I don't even know a good comparison, maybe like a Euros Medic. Like I don't know, he's
something like that. Yeah, isn't he kind of lankier for 45? Yeah, he's 6'1".
He is.
Yeah, crazy.
Really entertaining, but. There's a reason why Larian Douglas is a pretty big favorite, okay? This guy, about him. He's coming off Contender Series, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Dude, I think he's on like 5 KOs in a row. Just to put in perspective. Yeah, and they all 2 round 1, 3 round 2. And they're all from like LFA, which is like a pretty decent, B League organization. So anyways, Douglas is a pretty patient fighter, but he's going to be calculated. He's going to land a bomb. And, if Erosa can survive into the later rounds, there's a chance that he can, pull out the fire, pull Leon Edwards and maybe get like a sub late in the round. But if anybody's putting money on this fight, don't put any at all or put a little bit on Douglas KO. Like I wouldn't touch it. I think Douglas, if he hits Erosa one time, I don't think he's getting knocked down. I think he's getting put out of the freaking sphere. I think he's done. So I'm gonna say Douglas KO probably round 1.
Okay, but inside the distance, you say is probably a pretty safe expectation for this fight, given that Julian Erosa and Douglas are both finishers.
as safe as betting gets, but we've seen fights where there's two finishers going at it.
Sure.
I was gonna say Holly Charles, but like, and then it goes to the later rounds, and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
So
sure.
As much as betting
Never know.
goes, but that's probably the best bet here.
Cool.
Mansour Abdul Malik versus Yusri Belgaroui. So Yusri Belgaroui he's in Alex Perez team. You obviously know that. And funny enough,
Yeah, they fought each other in
Glory.
Back in Glory. Yeah, they had a pretty like contested rivalry.
I'm pretty sure Yusri won one by decision, then he got knocked out in a different one. I don't know how
Correct.
that works, but
I think the one he got knocked out though was also he was winning. It was very similar to the Izzy stuff. Like Yusri Belgaroi's fights in Glory. I need to watch them, but this is just what I've heard. I'll be honest, is that they're very similar to the Izzy fights where he was kind of having the upper hand, and then Pereira just kind of like landed that one big shot. So yeah, but he's very good. Obviously, like a lot of good experience.
yeah, like long story short, his striking is very high level. I mean, having any win over Poetan is like, dude, like that's good stuff, But they're both kind of prospects fighting each other. Mansour Abdul Malik, he's got a long reach, crazy power, and then Belgaroui is kind of more of like a decision kind of fighter. He's kind of like an Izzy, kind of like a point fighter. So it's kind of like, what side are you playing? Are you playing the Belgaroui decision? Are you playing the Mansour Abdul Malik KO prop? And it's kind of like one or the other. And I honestly don't think I'm that educated on this fight, but because I've been watching different people give their takes, and it's like half are saying, Yusri Belgaroui was getting clipped once in a while by Azamat Bakoyev in his last fight. Malik has way more power and longer reach, so he's going to get a KO in this fight. Some people are saying he's going to stay on the outside, Belgaroui is, and just kind of like coast to a decision or get like a third round KO. I think I'm maybe going to side with like Malik KO just from like the tiny bit of tape study, but that's not educated. So I'm like, but that's kind of where my mind is.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on this one. I've seen both fight, but I feel like I would say as a general rule of thumb though, is that when you have somebody who has a lot of experience with something and a long track record of a certain style, it's generally kind of safer to kind of predict things based on that, especially someone like Belgaroui who's very technical. Like we know, yes, Malik has great power and Belgaroui absolutely has the ability to get clipped, but he has a ton of experience in stand-up. Like anything stand-up related, he's got a lot of really like high level experience. So yeah, that's just
and the odds,
I'll leave that at that.
Yeah, and the odds in this fight are pretty close. So there's if you have a good angle, there's definitely money to be made in this fight. But
yeah,
I'm actually excited about this one a lot, dude. I love Terrence McKinney.
Versus Kyle Nelson.
Yeah, Terrence McKinney is a guy where it's like, yeah, is he going to be champ ever? No, but am I always going to tune in for his fights? 100%. He's
round one finish, baby.
Dude, I think he kind of, it's like an Iwo Barnusi kind of guy. You know, it's like champ material.
It's finish or be finished in round one for him.
Exactly. And I noticed there's a kind of a trend with McKinney. It's that the UFC is like, wow, this guy's good. Let's give him a guy that'll get him close to top 15. He gets finished in round one. Okay, let's build him back up. Let's throw him a guy who's like not bad, but like definitely lower level than him. He finishes him in round one. It literally is almost exactly a 1-to-1 ratio of I get finished, I get a finish. I get finished, I get a finish. He got finished in his last fight against Chris Duncan. And, so, if you're superstitious, keep that in mind. But from an actual more analytical point of view, I think McKinney's gonna get a round one finish here. It's like, could Kyle Nelson survive the storm? And McKinney's good, dude. He does run out of gas though, so it's like he's either getting a round one finish or he's getting finished in round 2 or 3. That's kind of where it is right now. But I love McKinney, so I don't know. What do you have to say?
Not much, man. I actually think Terrence McKinney is fairly well-rounded. Like he definitely has submission abilities and KO abilities. It's a pretty even split for him. He has never gone the distance. In fact, he has only seen the second round like 3 times in his entire career, and he's seen the third round once. So almost every single fight has been over within the first 2.5 minutes of round 1. I mean, that is just ridiculous. That's an insane statistic. I can't think of anybody quite like that. So it's because he's very aggressive and very fast.
Yeah.
And he takes chances. You know what I
Dude,
mean?
I'm just going to throw this out there. You know, Cal Nelson's kind of a decision guy, but a recent KO loss he has was to Steve Garcia, who I would say, who I don't know a ton about, but I know Steve Garcia is pretty aggressive, probably pretty similar to Terrence McKinney. You know, the McKinney round 1 finish is got, I think it's very likely. And I would never get more specific than that, just for the fact that McKinney, his instincts change. He's like, he goes for a KO one fight, and then the next fight he jumps for a guillotine. So it's like, and he has good finishing abilities in both KO props and submission ability. So it's like, I would always just keep it to just McKinney round 1. But that's where my pick is definitely going to stay. But yeah, I'm hyped for this fight.
It's fairly safe considering his track record.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's move on. Let's crank these ones out. Let's see. Next one is Ignacio Bahamondes. Let's see. I don't have it pulled up here.
Yeah, versus Tafiq Musayev.
That's right.
Tafiq Musayev he came from Bellator, and I don't know if you remember this, but he had like an insane amount of finishes. Kind of like a
oh, that's right. He was he's the one who fought Mckinney Rolby. Yes, that's right.
Yes,
okay, go on.
Kind of like Nursultan Ruzaboyev. That's kind of like the comparison. B-League organization has like a crazy amount of fights and like a 90% finish rate or something. Yeah, it's like really crazy like that. And then he got submitted by Mckinney or by, you know, your debut in the UFC and you get cooked. It's like, go figure. Right. Ignacio Bahamondes lost to Fiziev, but outside of that, he's a very good. And a fight that people that has aged beautifully is the Manuel Torres knockout. Dude, Manuel Torres is really freaking good. Really good. Yeah. And Bahamondes like actually destroyed him with counter punches, counter straights and stuff. He mauled him. And so Musayev is pretty aggressive. And I'm like, Bahamondes he tends to do better against aggressive fighters that he can counter, whereas Fiziev is not like super aggressive. Fiziev is actually himself more of a counter puncher, and that's what gave Bahamondes problems, that he was having to pressure him, and that's not really his home field advantage. Yeah, so I think this is a good time where Bahamondes actually has a good matchup. I think Tafiq is going to kind of try to crash in, whatever. You know, I think Tafiq is also kind of on the older side. I think Bahamondes will get a KO here. I think he'll get a TKO.
Yeah, he's younger. He's still learning, you know. He's still like right now in the UFC, this is not the peak of his career. He's still getting better. He's very tall and lanky for lightweight, and he's 6'3". That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this one. I really like Ignacio Bahamondes.
Yeah, and Tafiq has a good finish rate, so we know it's gonna be fireworks. But okay, dude, Chase Hooper coming off his loss to Alexander Hernandez, and then now he's fighting Lance Gibson Jr., the guy that fought Bobby Green last and lost split decision. So Lance Gibson, he's decent. I mean, he took Bobby to a split decision, so he's not a can. But we all know Chase Hooper. We know where his strengths lie. He's gonna, try to get this fight to a ground position and do his magic from there. But Chase Hooper's a guy where he's got really good submission instincts, but you can't always count on him to get a submission. Kind of like his fight with Jim Miller, right? Jim Miller is not bad on the ground, and Chase Hooper was able to get him there. But once he got him there, he kind of just rode on mount, threw in some elbows, and took a pretty decisive decision. Yeah. So I think Chase Hooper is going to win here. I don't think Lance Gibson Jr. is as high level as Chase Hooper is in the ground, but I think this is definitely a lower competition compared to Alexander Hernandez. So I think Chase Hooper is definitely the play here. I don't really know if you can say Chase Hooper sub only. So Agreed. I would take the double chance, do Chase Hooper sub or decision, play it safe.
Or even just the money line, dude. Like he could get a ground and pound TKO, but I don't know, man. I'm always so worried about his. I'm worried about his speed. His speed and head movement is always just like, oof. It's so hard to watch. Whenever I watch him fight, it just feels like he's so hittable, and that's what always is so scary about watching him. And it just feels so. Like, honestly, this is one of those fights that I just would steer clear of, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his record right now. He has not a single... He has one TKO in the UFC, and that was in his debut, like 6 years ago. So, you know, it's always possible, but I think Jay Super's more of a guy where it's like, if he's throwing ground and pound, he's using that to set up a submission. Like, I elbow you and you bring your arm up and I snatch up an arm triangle, that kind of thing.
Arm bar,
His instincts are always submission oriented. So I would say sub or decision, but that's my pick here.
Okay.
Cool. And Navajo Stirling, he's fighting... He's like, they're trying to like build him up, but he's definitely going to be, you know, Bruno Lopez is not that big of a step up. In fact, from what I hear, he's pretty chinny. And Navajo Stirling kind of also is a guy that's hypnotized people into, oh, like I'm Izzy's team, and I'm a great striker, and I got power. Yeah, you're kind of a decision beauty, and he showed that in most of his fights.
Pretty boring, yeah.
But Bruno Lopez is not that good. I'm gonna just like, I'm not gonna get too much in the weeds here, but he's not that good. So I actually think Navajo Stirling has a really good chance of getting a KO here. Probably a TKO. But if you don't have anything to say, we can just move on. Keep this game moving.
Not really. I mean, obviously, like, he comes from a gym with a lot of really technical strikers, and he's proven that he's very technical, but not. I would hardly call him a finisher at this point.
Right.
Usually his fights have been quite slow. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about Bruno Lopez, so it's hard for me to comment on that. But, yeah.
Chinny, new to the UFC. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Okay, and then the last fight we'll be breaking down is the Ricky Simón and Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez is a guy that he had a lot of potential, and I was hyped. He was on like a 3-fight KO streak leading up to his fight with awesome. Rob Font. Yeah, and he was looking really good. And then he fought Rob Font. And Rob Font is like always, he's decent. He's a good unk, you know, a good guy to gatekeep. But dude, he beat the brakes off Adrian Yanez. That's probably his best win of his career, is beating Adrian Yanez.
It's really good.
Like round 1 KO by Rob Font. Are you kidding me? And then since then, Adrian Yanez has never been the same. He's almost like, a comparison can be drawn to Sergey Pavlovich after he lost to Tom Aspinall. KO, KO, lost by KO, decision loss, decision win. It's like, that's kind of the same thing here. So Ricky Simón is decent. He had the win over Javid Basharat, like the crazy good KO. And his wrestling is decent. His pace is decent. You know, you could try to play Adrian Yanez KO here, but in my opinion, I think Ricky Simón, his finishing potential is not huge, even though that Javid Basharat happened KO. I think he's probably going to get takedowns, get control time, probably be competitive on the feet at least. But I think it's going to be probably a 29-28 decision for Ricky Simón.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Adrian Yanez's striking as well. And Ricky Simón is dangerous. He's got heavy hands, and his wrestling is pretty solid as well. I think the grappling is going to be, like, if he can get his grappling going, that would be huge. Dude, he's sub Merab, basically. That's
what I was going to say.
I mean, that is like, at this point, that's a win that has aged incredibly well.
The go to bantamweight.
Yeah, literally. And so, obviously the dude is very competent on the ground. To me, that seems like his best path to victory. Like, if he's going to try and utilize his advantages to the best of his ability, that's what he should do.
Yeah, and I really hope Adrian Yanez, you know, even if he loses this fight, like, keeps going. But he's got to change some game plan up. He's got to find a new team. I think he has potential, but it sucks when you see a guy that was looking so good and was a great prospect, and then just like, it just gets on a bad run, and you're just like, dude, I want you to succeed, but like, I don't know what you got to do to change things up, you know? But yeah, so Ricky Simón decision would be the pick here, but yeah, I don't really think we have anything else to get through today.
I don't think so. Yeah, that kind of covers most of the fights that are halfway interesting. dude, I hope Izzy pulls through this weekend. I hope we see a good version of him.
Yeah, dude. It's one of those things where it's like it's hard to give out a pick because the first round will dictate everything. It's like in the first round, are we gonna see Izzy actually like have good distance management and like have good head movement? Are we gonna see Izzy kind of get aggressive and maybe get caught? It's like it's so hard to say. Are we gonna get the Sean Strickland Izzy or the Pereira 2 Izzy kind of thing? So
yeah,
we'll see Saturday night, I guess.
We shall see. We'll talk about it after the event's over.